Hey you guys, so today we're going to be comparing what it's like to live in the big city versus maybe some of the surrounding cities, or better known as the suburbs. My name is Robert and I want to welcome you to Exploring Texas. It's a channel about all things Texas, real estate, food, anything fun in the great state that I get to call home. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be comparing city life versus suburbia life. And in particular, we're going to narrow it down a little bit more to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So sit back, relax, and pop a cold one, because I sure am. I'm actually going to be drinking pirate water. Interesting. Viva la Stool. I don't know what it is. Oh, it has a Barstool Sports thing on the front, right there. Oh, it smells really sweet. So let's see. Malt beverage with natural and artificial flavors and certified color. What the hell is certified color? It tastes like a lollipop. What it tastes like is a hangover. So let's talk about the pros and cons of living in a big city and the suburbs, or suburbia, whatever you want to call it. In particular, we're going to talk about the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I've had the privilege of living in 4 different cities. I currently live downtown Dallas and I absolutely love it. Previously, I've lived in Denton, I've lived in McKinney, and I've lived in Plano. Again, currently I call downtown Dallas my home. Now, as I've made the way through these suburbs all the way to Dallas, I've had to make significant sacrifices. I once owned and lived in a 2,300 square foot home with me, and at that time, my fiance. Now, me and my wife live in a 900 square foot condo that doesn't have its own garage, doesn't have a backyard, and really doesn't have much space to do much more than really your basic necessities of, your bathroom and your shower and where you sleep and hang out with friends in the living room. Because, well, it's 900 square feet. But what we get in terms of living in a big city is convenience. We absolutely love just being able to go down the elevator, go downstairs, walk to bars, walk to restaurants, walk to grocery stores, get a short cab ride. Who uses cabs? Get a short, inexpensive Uber ride, or even an electric scooter to get from one place to another without ever having to get in a car. So that's one of the conveniences that we currently, without kids, have decided is something that we want to experience. Now, I understand that that's not for everyone, and I'm also not saying that you can't have kids and live like that, but us personally, we've decided to do that now because at some point we prefer to have a little bit more than 900 square feet to raise our kids. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of maybe living in a city and living in the suburbs. The very first thing about living in the city is, again, pros, it's going to be convenience. Cons, it's going to be more expensive. Let's talk about suburbia. Cons, it's not as convenient, not as walkable, so you typically have to be in some sort of vehicle to try to get to one place to another, right? There's a lot of zoning laws that prevent, unfortunately, in the suburbs, developers from building multi-use housing. Now, there are some exceptions, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but for the most part, if you're purchasing a single-family home, the closest grocery store is going to be a short drive away. Whereas, like for me, I can literally walk to a Whole Foods in 2 minutes, or previously, I was literally living on top of a Trader Joe's. So I literally took the elevator downstairs and walked into a Trader Joe's. You're not really going to find that in the suburbs living in a single family home. So you're probably still like, okay, Robert, you really haven't helped me decide whether I should buy in the city or buy in the suburbs. Again, right now, the two things is pretty much just space versus space, cost versus cost. One's cheaper and gives you less space. One's more expensive and gives you less space, and one's cheaper and gives you more space. Convenience, no convenience. But the biggest differences, and one of the main reasons that a lot of people want to live in the city, is honestly access to entertainment, some of the top restaurants, and just a lot of the things where people get to live life. Another thing is work. Most people used to live downtown because they worked downtown, or they commuted from the suburbs into downtown because that's where their offices were. Now, let's talk about the suburbs of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I think it's completely offensive to call Frisco a suburb. We call this the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and that means that Dallas and Fort Worth are the 2 major cities within the Metroplex. Frisco itself, in my opinion, is bound to take over both those large city populations and honestly even their economies. Well, yes, Dallas is a high rise and has tons of industry and businesses and its own entertainment district. Frisco, in a short period of time, has managed to bring in top tier companies, which in turn brings top tier talent, which in turn means developers are incentivized to invest and build out entertainment districts. Nowadays, people that live in or around Frisco honestly really never leave Frisco. Outside of maybe going to a Dallas Stars game or a Mavericks game downtown, or maybe going to Arlington to a Cowboys game or to a Rangers game, you're most likely going to stay within that metroplex or within that city of Frisco. Besides, Frisco has its own set of entertainment, even for sports. It has FC Dallas Soccer, it has the Frisco Rough Riders, it's home to the headquarters of the Dallas Cowboys. So while you may not be able to see a Dallas Cowboys game, you still get to submerge yourself in the Cowboys culture or cult that it really is. Another thing is, a lot of these suburbs, which that's what we're gonna call Frisco, tend to be next to suburbs that are also developing and growing themselves. So for example, Plano. Plano has the Shops of Legacy. The Shops of Legacy is a multi-use development that combines commercial space and residential space. So you still see a lot of residential housing on the top, but then you see top-notch shops, restaurants, and entertainment all along the bottom. You drive a little further down to the Colony and you see the Grandscape. Grandscape was voted #1 development and it's ahead of, I think, 4 others that are not even in the country. That means that the suburbs are not what they used to be anymore. Suburbs aren't these suburbs that are so rural, desolate, there's no one that lives there, you know, Footloose kind of movie where it's like, what are we gonna do? Just drink and dance because there's nothing else to do. No, many people don't really see a need to have to go into the major cities. Besides, employment has now moved outside of the downtown areas into some of these suburbs. We see a lot of campuses, and I blame Apple for this. So Apple campus, Google campus, we see that all the time. Here in the Frisco area, we see Toyota has a campus. We see PGA is now pretty much building a campus. State Farm, we see a lot of these larger companies. JP Morgan has these campuses. And this is an area for their employees to be able to thrive and do life and really deliver a higher level of work for these companies, which obviously in return, they make a lot more money. So if people have no reason to go downtown because, well, their job doesn't require them to, or 2, they can do the same amount of, or they can access the same quality entertainment within the city that they live in, then why would they go to the major cities? What you really are going to have to take into consideration is space and price. So $500,000 downtown Dallas is probably just gonna get you a condo or something that's relatively small, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe townhome. Whereas $500,000 in the suburbs could get you a nice single family home. Maybe not the nicest single family home in Frisco, but many of those surrounding cities that are next to Frisco that can capitalize and give you access to the entertainment and the amenities of Frisco, of Dallas, and Fort Worth for a much more reasonable price. Honestly, the suburbs are starting to sound really attractive. I hope you enjoyed this video, and honestly, I hope I challenged you to think of suburbs in a different way, because honestly, they are different. They're not what we used to think of them. At the end of the day, this channel is supposed to be about all things Texas and help you learn more about Texas to make more educated decisions for you and your family to build generational wealth through real estate in a state that I absolutely love. If you are in the market, or you think you might be, or you just have some questions about real estate, click the link below and schedule a Zoom call with me today. If all you want to do is just learn about different topics and explore Texas, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.